Welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Roberts. Going to join you here with us to go over this 3-game slate at DraftKings. This video is sponsored by DFS Hero. If you're looking for a lineup optimizer or some new tools to try out, they are worth a shot. You can get a 15% off discount if you use our link in the video description below. Another fun 3-game slate. Definitely beats yesterday's 2-game slate. I basically broke even again last night, even though I had 11% on Tyler Hero, and Bam was okay at low ownership as well. I was very high on the fact that the Miami Heat guys have monstrous roles. They're not like overpriced, and nobody's going to be on them. So I think on these small games, these like small 2-3 game slates, that's just something to really think about even more than usual. There's going to be a lot of chalk that you want to eat because you don't have as much wiggle room as you would on like a 8 or 10 game slate or something. So it's tough to fade the good chalk that stands out. But I mean, you can't play everybody. You can't play all the chalky guys. And if you do, you're maybe at best going to min cash. And you certainly aren't going to get a takedown that way. So I haven't looked, but I'm assuming whoever won last night had Tyler Hero because he had 56 fantasy points. On a 2-game slate, you need the guy who's going to be at 8K who goes absolutely bonkers like that. So just definitely keep that in mind. Also, just in general, as far as like correlation goes, I think you can play guys together. But if you're going to play like, for instance, Hero and Bam, I did end up playing them together just because I like them both at low ownership. But it does make sense a lot of times to, isolate them and separate them amongst your lineups, just because if Hero is going to have a crazy good game, it stands to reason that Bam probably won't. I mean, he could still find success, but what are the odds of Hero getting almost 60 fantasy points and Bam also getting almost 60 fantasy points? I don't know if they're that great. If Miami was going to stay in that game, though, obviously other guys are going to have success. I liked Jaime Jaquez and Caleb Martin, but it was actually Nikola Jovic and some other guys that end up helping out because they just hit a shit ton of threes. But overall, Hero was a great play. Hopefully you used them, and hopefully you found a way to cash. It's on to the next one, so let's dive into it. First game, we got Cavs versus Magic. Cavs are 2.5-point road dogs. They are up 2-0 in this series, and this game is a 201.5 total. It's a 3-game slate, so we absolutely have to keep everybody on our radar. It's still not a great DFS environment. It's a slow-paced game. Both teams defend well. And now the Cavs are on the road. So I think overall the Cavs get a slight downgrade here. Donovan Mitchell still stands out as a nice tournament play, 4% ownership for a guy who we know can get 50 to 60 fantasy points when he's feeling it. It's obviously not a good matchup, so I wouldn't make him a priority. But if you can pivot off of a chalkier guy in that price range, he is in play. I do really like Jared Allen, though. He is crushing the glass against the Magic. The Magic don't have anybody who can keep up with him down low. He's getting easy buckets. He's just a really good bet for a double-double. He's getting high minutes, and his price hasn't really adjusted yet. 7.4 is a bit too cheap for him. He's coming in with almost a 40-point fantasy projection, and he does have the best boom rating at DFS Hero among Cleveland players, 21%. So he's my favorite play for the Cavs. He's going to get a little bit of ownership, but not enough to deter me whatsoever. Evan Mobley at 7K is totally fine. Darius Garland at 6.6 is totally fine. These guys are both cheap, but right now it's Spida and Allen who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And I'd rank them Allen, Mitchell, and then Mobley, Garland. You can totally look at Max Strus. He's a 5.4K starter who can get hot from threes, and you get those extra points with threes. Only problem is he doesn't really do a whole lot else, and if he's not hitting his shots, he's not going to return much value. That's probably where I'd cut it off for the Cavs. The only guy I'm really focused on, though, is Jared Allen right now. Over on the Magic side, obviously they get a little bit of a lift by going, home and getting to play in front of their home crowd. It's still not a good matchup. It's still not a good environment. I think Banchero stands out as the best play at 8K flat. His price has come down. He comes in with almost a 44-point fantasy projection and a 30% boom rating, highest for Orlando on this slate. So he looks good. In theory, he's carrying a little bit of ownership at 27%. So if he's going to be owned, I would gladly just go a different way. Franz Wagner is considerably cheaper. If I'm going to play a Magic guy, he'd probably be the first one I'd look to. He's a really nice mid-range option, decent projection, 24% boom rating, and obviously not the number one option for Orlando for Cleveland to focus on. Jalen Suggs got hurt in the last game. I liked him a lot. His price has come up slightly at 5.3K. He still looks like a pretty good value. He's going to carry some ownership at 33%, but as long as his leg or whatever isn't bothering him too much, and he's going to push for like 30 plus minutes, I think he's a fine value. Not a must by any means for me on the slate, especially if he's going to be super chalky. I'll gladly go a different route. Gary Harris is probably the one value play here that I talked about it last time when the Magic were on the slate that I broke down. Gary Harris is basically a 3-and-D guy. If he's hitting his shots, he's going to pay off the 4K price pretty quickly. And if he's not, it's going to really weigh your lineup down. So he's absolutely a play at 4K flat. And because of the way I want to play tonight, I don't think he's absolutely necessary. But I don't have an issue with playing him at all. Jonathan Isaac is also carrying ownership. 4.8K is a good price as long as he continues to start. I will note that Mo Wagner has kind of eaten up some minutes, 21 minutes last game, so he's an okay punt. But if everybody's going to be going after Mo Wagner at 38% ownership, I will gladly get away from that. So far, my words on Magic punts, it hasn't worked out very well. Magic value in general, so take that with a grain of salt. Up next, we got the Knicks and Sixers. This series has been relatively low scoring. Both teams can defend pretty well. Obviously, the Sixers are a scarier defensive team with Joel Embiid anchoring their unit down low. But it really hasn't prevented the Knicks guys from paying off from a DFS perspective. Jalen Brunson is pushing for almost 50 fantasy points. His price is troublesome considering you have guys like Tyrese Maxey and Jamal Murray at point guard that look a little bit better based off of value. But he looks great. 25% boom rating. The price is actually right around where we would see him during the regular season. So I have no issue with him. I love that he's coming in at 13% ownership. So as far as tournaments go, Brunson feels like one of the best tournament plays of the slate. DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, OG and Anunoby, they're just okay. I think if you get to them, you're fine. I think of the three, I prefer OG just because of price. He's going to be playing 35 plus minutes and probably Hartenstein around 30, DiVincenzo 35. So they're all fine. I think just for savings, I think OG stands out the most for me. Josh Hart looks great. He's been smashing in the series. He does everything. He's rebounding like crazy. So if Philly cannot keep him off the glass, he had 15 rebounds in game 2, then he's going to crush his price tag. And not surprisingly, he has the best boom rating at 28% of all the Knicks. So he looks really good at 7.3. I would probably rank them Hart, Brunson, OG on this slate. And like I said, the Knicks just play a ton of minutes, and they're all pretty nicely priced. If you get to them, there's nothing wrong with that. For Philly, Joel Embiid is forever questionable. He looks really good just because he's not expensive enough, really. He has not broken the slate yet in either of his first 2 playoff games, but he's still top 52 fantasy points both times. He obviously has like 70, 80, 90 fantasy point upside, so he's definitely worth playing at 10.4K. His ownership at 23% is not too bad. So I don't have an issue with him. 41% boom rating. System really likes him. I like him just fine. The only problem is center's pretty loaded. And this also feels like a slate that is advantageous to target a lot of the mid-range guys because they're all just priced really nicely. One of them is Tyrese Maxey, who's been red hot in the series so far, scoring I think it's 33 plus real points in both games. Let me double check. Yeah, 33 and 35. So he is feeling it. In last game, he was 1 rebound away from a triple double. He's too cheap. So I really like Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to play him way more than I'm playing Embiid, and his ownership at 27%, considering the slate, probably not high enough. Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre are just okay. I'm not making the priority plays at all. Kyle Lowry for me is a priority play. He's getting 35 plus minutes in the series. He's pretty washed, but he's only 4.7K and he's out there doing stuff. So I'm going to lock him in. I like him a lot. As far as other value, Batum's okay. He's an okay try at 4.1K. Let me just double check his minutes, see if it dropped off at all in game 2. No, he played even more. He had 26 in game 1, 33 in game 2. If he's going to be out there playing a good amount of the game, 4.1, that's a decent value. They're relying on him for his veteran experience. So I think that's totally fine. All right, last game of the night here. We have the Nuggets and Lakers. This is going down in LA. The Lakers blew it in game 2. They almost evened the series, and then Jamal Murray hit a game winner to really basically close this series. Teams don't come back from 2 games down, and Denver's a better team anyways. So I expect the Lakers to put up a fight here and give us probably the best game environment of the slate. Ownership does not indicate that so far. Jokic at 23% ownership is going to be a little bit tough to ignore. I would like to get closer to lock and look at ownership to see how that changes. If he's at 25 sub percent, like 25 or less, Jokic is pretty interesting to end the slate. 11.5K though, he is pretty pricey. And looking at the slate, I personally don't see like a major need. I don't think we have to go get Jokic, especially if my favorite stud, who we'll talk about in a little bit, can match him. And I think it's possible that happens. Jamal Murray looks like the way better play. He's been getting it done. He was a bit of a disappointment in the last game, but he did really well in the first game. He has not shot the ball very well in this series yet, but that's obviously eventually going to change. He's shooting a lot, and obviously he can do a lot of different things. So too cheap. He's right there with Maxey, one of my favorite plays of the slate. And the best part is he's no longer like 50% owned like he was on the last slate. So, obviously refresh and check your ownership. But if he sticks around 25%, that's very appealing. MPJ is totally fine. I like him a little bit better than Aaron Gordon, but both are viable. KCP is a 3-and-D guy like Gary Harris. He's 900 more than Gary Harris, but he's also better than Gary Harris. He's going to be a little bit owned because he's a decent value. If he's hitting the shots, he's going to pay off. If he's not, that's going to be a bit of a problem. That does it for Denver. I'm mostly going Jamal Murray, and then if I get to any of those other guys, I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to force them in. And I'm not forcing Jokic unless the ownership is just, egregious. A little interesting to see both Brow and LeBron not carrying monstrous ownership right now, but like I said, the slate is kind of heavy on like really good mid-range plays. One of them is D'Angelo Russell at 6.4K. That's a core play for me. He's too cheap. He's playing really big minutes. He's doing a lot. He's scoring the ball well. So far, this has been a good series for him. So, let's just keep it going. I'm going to play D'Lo, 25% boom rating, decent projection. I think he crushes that price tag. I like LeBron and Brow just fine. They project well. They both have 35% boom ratings or higher. They're not priced like studs, even though on this slate they are definitely studs. I think you could totally play Brow. He's got the better projection. He is a little bit more expensive. I prefer LeBron, though. He's just performed better in this series, and he just seems to turn it up a notch in the playoffs in general. He's coming at 19% ownership. You can play the whichever one's less owned to go that route. I think they both look awesome, and I'm just leaning towards LeBron tonight. Austin Reeves at 5.7K, a little bit too cheap. Not a priority because he hasn't really done that well in the series, and I prefer D'Angelo Russell by quite a bit, but he's totally in play. I love Rui Hachimura at 4.8K. He played a ton of minutes in the last game. He's been playing a lot in the entire series. He did like nothing when he was out there in game 2. I think 8 fantasy points or something egregious. 9. He had 9 fantasy points, 1 for 7 shooting, but he played 38 minutes. So if he's going to get that much burn, I really don't care. I'm just going to play him. So it's kind of like Lowry, Gary Harris, Rui, maybe even KCP. These guys all look really, really good. They're getting minutes. They're out there. You just needed to break your way and for them to actually, hit their shots and like have a decent game. Same thing with OG Anunoby. He's a little bit more expensive than those guys, so I'd probably rank him last among that lot as far as value goes. I don't really want to go dumpster diving for Mo Wagner personally. I mean, if 40% of the field is going to go get Mo Wagner, I might just, use these other guys and not do that. So as things stand, you can obviously make a case for Brow, for Brunson, for Jokic, for Embiid. I just really like living in the mid-range on this slate. So my lineup as things stand is as follows. Lowry, Gary Harris, OG, Rui, Jarrett Allen, D'Lo, LeBron, and Maxey. And judging by where ownership sits right now, that's not a chalky lineup. I will refresh and we'll run some lineups later today and see how it updates and where it stands. But if that lineup's going to be kind of have a lot of pieces that are overlooked, that's very appealing to me. Eat like some of that chalky value. And then, LeBron and Maxey are not owned enough, in my opinion. So, yeah, we'll see how it is. Hopefully this breakdown helps you out a little bit. If it does, please give this video a like and also consider subscribing to our channel, the DFS Build, so you can catch all of our videos across many different sports throughout the year. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.